He knows to stay humble. That's it, Hans. Which one for the office?
Which one?
Sorry, in the middle.
As September 13th gets closer, the hype is exploding around one of the biggest fights of the year, Terence Crawford stepping up to face Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight. Fans, fighters, and analysts are all locked in, waiting to see if Crawford can pull off the unthinkable. In one of the most secretive training camps we've seen, Crawford has shut out the media, fans, and even people from his own circle. His only mission? Take down the undisputed king at 168, Canelo Alvarez. It's the toughest challenge of his career, and Crawford knows he'll need to be sharper than ever.
Get in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Terence is not going to see anything that he hasn't seen before. No, he hasn't seen this beast on fight night, but he's seen versions of this beast for a very, very, very long time. People have said that he's a blown-up 147-pound fighter. If you remember, he said it was hard for him to make 147 when he fought Errol Spence Jr. I was like, yo, how is that possible? I didn't realize, like, he was really doing everything that's needed to gain the weight properly. Most fighters don't know how to gain weight and fit into a weight class properly. He's done that.
Yeah.
Crawford has built his name on slick footwork, razor-sharp timing, and punch combinations that break opponents down. But this time, he's jumping from 154 pounds all the way to 168. That's Canelo's house, a division where he's reigned supreme for years. Crawford isn't just stepping into a new weight class, he's stepping straight into the lion's den.
Canelo is the last fighter in our generation that's a Hall of Famer. You know, that got the biggest name in the sport. So, you know, I chose to go up in weight and to actually try to conquer him from, you know, all his achievements in the division. So why not? I just respect him as all. You know, he's a great fighter. He's, you know, a good boxer. He's a good counterpuncher. He's never, you know, off balance. He got a good chin. He got good power. Got, you know, good movement when he want to move. What is there to not say about him?
No, I got you. Now, with all of that, as you rattled off, we'll call it the scouting report, right? What will you have to do to be your best version in order to get this victory?
I think just be myself and just don't get careless in the ring, and, you know, stay sharp all 12 rounds. If it goes 12 rounds, I think that's the only thing that, you know, I need to do, and make sure that in training that I sharpen up all my tools.
Still, Crawford isn't backing down. His camp in Colorado Springs is completely closed off, with no interviews and zero distractions. The focus is on staying quick, fluid, and dangerous, even at the heavier weight. They studied past fighters who moved up too fast and paid the price. Crawford doesn't plan on repeating those mistakes.
So here's a video that many people have sent me to determine in their mind that Terence Bud Crawford would lose to Canelo Alvarez, or is going to lose September 13th to Canelo Alvarez, as he is sparring here middleweight WBC world champion Carlos Adames, who is 24 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 18 wins by way of knockout. And people are saying that Carlos Adames, who's 5'11" with a 73-inch arm reach, is having his way with Terence Bud Crawford. And this is an indication that the 168-pound Canelo Alvarez, who's 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, is going to have the same type of success and knock Terence Crawford out. But what people are not paying attention to is Terence Crawford is standing right in front of Carlos Adames and taking the big punches from Carlos Adames as he's standing in the pocket and counterpunching him and taking his blows at a smaller weight class while competing at 147. Now he bulked up. What y'all think?
The size gap is still a huge factor. Canelo is built for 168 with raw power and relentless pressure. Crawford, on the other hand, has one of the sharpest ring IQs in boxing. The key will be whether he can use his speed and smarts to outthink Canelo before the bigger man can impose his will.
We just got some footage. Terence Bud Crawford on his socials, on Instagram, that's where I got mine from, on Instagram him throwing punches with the slip rope. I want you guys to tell me what you see. On top of that, I may get a copyright because I think he's playing some music, but I like the song so much. We'll just delete it later. Either way, after that, I show Canelo Alvarez on the slip rope when he was preparing for his last fight in William Skull.
There's also the question of where Canelo really is right now. Yes, he's still undisputed, but some believe he's slipped a step. His recent fight with William Skull had fans wondering if the Mexican superstar is past his prime. Crawford has been clear. He wants the best version of Canelo in the ring, because this fight will define both of their legacies.
And of course, look, you've accomplished everything. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. You've been undisputed now in 2 weight classes. This will give you undisputed championship in the 3rd weight class. But not just that, you know you're fighting an all-time great, and you know that the credit's gonna go to you if you beat a guy like Canelo Alvarez at 168. Is that why you want it?
Well, when I beat him.
When you beat him.
Definitely. You know, the stakes is high. You know, it's high risk, high reward type of fight. And I'm looking forward to it.
When would you say, from memory, that you first thought this fight was a real possibility, that you started thinking about this fight actually happening?
Well, I started thinking about it, you know, a couple of years ago when they started talking about Spence fighting Canelo. Then just, you know, sizing him up, like, all right, how tall is he? You know, how long his arms and things like that. Just sizing him up like that and going to his fights and things like that. And when he walk out the ring, I'm looking at him like, man, all that big. You know, so me talking to him with Turkey and Turkey not wanting to fight. And me like, yeah, this is the fight that I want, being that, you know, he's the last great fighter.
Andre Ward, one of the smartest minds in boxing, has broken it down. He says both Crawford and Canelo are puncher boxers, dangerous with power, but skilled enough to outbox opponents. Ward warns, though, that neither man can afford to get reckless. The fight will come down to discipline and smart adjustments.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this last couple of years, I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can beat.
Antonio Tarver, the former champ, is leading toward Crawford. He admits Canelo is elite, but he thinks Crawford's ring IQ, speed, and unpredictability will be the difference. For Tarver, this is Crawford's toughest test, but also the perfect chance to shock the world.
Terence got to be Terence, bro. He's a real deep thinker. He processed fights like nobody else. And he's processed this Canelo fight. He's seen it. He went through it 2 or 3 times already. He knows how this ends. You can tell the way he shadow boxes. He visualizing Canelo being right there in front of him. You understand? Look at the movement. That's all you got to do. Look at the movement. And that's the type of master boxer that Canelo is going to be facing. And the only thing I say is Canelo hasn't faced an opponent like this in a long time. You know what I mean? I think Canelo's going to have to go back to the Caleb Plant fight and look that good, that active, that, you feel me, moving with that type of grace to beat Terence Crawford. Because weight ain't going to make the difference. It ain't going to be the weight. It's going to be the skill set.
Not everyone agrees. Regis Prograis believes people are underestimating Canelo. He points out that Canelo has beaten heavy punchers like Sergey Kovalev and Gennady Golovkin. Moving up in weight could slow Crawford down and take away some of his pop, which could make Canelo's job a whole lot easier.
You know, I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You got to look at it. And then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small, you know, and he can look bigger in Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get in that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. You know, his head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight. Like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave him troubles, Irislan, De Lara, Austin Trout, Floyd, and Bivol, you know, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moved around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that. But I don't know how Crawford is gonna respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee. You know, so it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't. You know, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about great. This might be, I mean, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter ever.
Then there's Roy Jones Jr., who sees multiple paths for Crawford to win. He argues that Crawford is more versatile and doesn't rely on just one style. In his eyes, that makes Crawford the favorite. Still, he admits if Canelo sticks to the right game plan, he can flip the script.
Fight that he can fight, on the correct fight that he can fight, he does have a chance, and I think he could be victorious. If he doesn't fight the one way that he can only fight to win it, Terence Crawford has 6 ways he can win it.
Andy Ruiz also weighed in, reminding everyone that Canelo has had trouble with southpaws before. That makes Crawford's style especially dangerous. Ruiz respects both fighters and won't pick a side, but he says fans should buckle up. This one could go either way.
I know that if you were in a Canelo Crawford card, that card would be a million times. It's still an amazing card, but you would have added a lot. Who wins, Canelo or Crawford?
I think it's gonna be a good fight, man. I'm going for Canelo, of course. You know, he's the Mexican warrior as well. But Crawford, man, you can't neglect him or you can't underestimate him as well. You know, he has a lot of skills, a lot of movement. He's a lefty as well. That's what Canelo has trouble with. I think it's gonna be an amazing fight, man. I just can't wait. And
trainer Abel Sanchez has a different concern. He thinks Crawford's jump in weight over just 14 months might hurt him. Without the extra time to build up his body, Crawford could lose the very speed and agility that made him special. And if that happens, Sanchez says it's advantage Canelo all day.
To have a guy come up from 140 pounds in such a short period of time, I'm not saying he couldn't have done it. If he'd have taken 3 or 4 years like Canelo did and built up not only his strength, but his bulk in the correct way, he would have had a better chance. But to do it in these 14, 15 months that he's done it in.
With Fight Night closing in, the predictions are flying from every corner of the boxing world. Abel Sanchez's bold verdict only added more fuel to the fire. Everyone wants to know, can Crawford really dethrone Canelo, or will the Mexican superstar once again prove he's untouchable at 168? One thing's for sure, September 13th won't just be another fight. It's a night boxing fans will remember for years to come.